hope I'm now well audible. I'm representing the European Association of Cooperative Banks, and since we have other cooperative banks around the table, I will limit myself today to giving you an overview about the cooperative banking model more in its abstract form and how it's spread all over Europe. As you can see, we have different cooperative organizations all over Europe. These are the member organizations of the European Association of Cooperative Banks. Cooperative banks in Europe have some 200 million clients and 56 million members. So there is a wide part of the population in many European countries that's part of a cooperative. The market share, however, can vary from country to country. You have a very high market share, for example, in France, with about cooperative banks standing for 60% of the market, particularly in retail. In other countries, also in Greece, where the part is possibly less important, but nevertheless growing. Cooperatives are deeply rooted in the European economic tradition. They were finally very much most of the cooperative idea was established in the 19th century in many countries in the UK, Germany, France. There are many pioneers, and the idea spread then throughout Europe. It's therefore not a surprise that the cooperatives are explicitly mentioned in the Treaty of the European Union, and that there are also many legal acts of the European Union referring to cooperatives. And as you well know, it has a long history in financial services, but there are other important sectors, and particularly in agriculture, where cooperatives play a very important role. Now, what is so specific about the cooperative business model in general? Cooperatives are, first of all, companies that are mainly established by the people. They are called the people's initiatives, if you so wish, that people want to establish a company to meet their common economic or social needs and purposes. So that means right from the start that the creation and generation of profit is not the predominant feature in a cooperative. The aim is rather to fulfill the members' needs and to create a structure for the members. The cooperative has members at the local and at the regional levels. However, the participation of the members in the capital is normally limited. That means that the member of a cooperative may get his dividend over the time every year, but particularly when it comes to the retained earnings, he may have no or rather a limited participation. So when the cooperative develops over the decades, it will become rather strong. It will have members, but it's kind of a common heritage of the community. The governance, the cooperative is also mainly focused on its member needs. That means it is no business orientation that lasts from day to tomorrow. It's, you live in an area, you have your members here, you have to serve them there, you have to serve them today and tomorrow. So you have a long-term orientation towards the customers. Short-term business is not the priority. And we have democratic principles, namely one person, one vote. So you have therefore always that the wide majority of the people is influencing. The networks are characterized mainly in Europe by decentralization. So you have many local banks that are then owned by the citizens, and these local banks then own central service providers that own possibly central banks and insurances and so on. Now, the difference, I already told that already, is the business objective of a joint stock company is the shareholder value, whereas in a cooperative, it's stakeholder value. The profitability is one objective, but it's not exclusively or the primary objective. Profit is not a goal in itself. At the same time, we have to say, I suppose, cooperatives are always economic enterprises, so they need to be profitable, they need to generate profits, otherwise there wouldn't be a cooperative. And the added value is different. The core bank is answered to customers by prices and services, and the shareholder value is more by dividends increased company value. So, what is important also very much is that cooperatives are mainly local initiatives. They start at a local level that also has an impact on the local economy. So cooperatives are essential also for fostering regional development. First of all, they may be there where there is no other banks and therefore ensure access to financial services even in remote rural areas, particularly for companies that need financing. They mobilize savings and therefore they bring it back in the region where they are located. So the money stays in the regions where they are. And thus they prevent a capital drain going to the big cities or going to the big economic centers. That helps, of course, making the areas and local areas more attractive. There are enough studies of towns. When you have a bank, you will automatically have small shops around, and you see a small economic center developing. So therefore, these local banks are important. And of course, the long-term relationship is also there for the local business, because a cooperative will not simply close down and reopen its branch somewhere else. It has to get along with its members, customers in that region. And what is very important, and there are recent studies, cooperative banks are relatively stable taxpayers. They pay taxes. And they are less likely that they change the tax burden by shifting profits between countries and other countries. There are recent studies, particularly about Germany, where the savings banks and cooperative banks are among the highest taxpayers and pay a multitude of what private banks normally pay.